Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder. Today, LINKBANCORP Incorporated just filed an 8K announcing a merger completion and a Nasdaq delisting, and I am seeing a major shift in ownership. Quick note, this is not financial advice, just my take on public filings for educational purposes. This filing marks the end of an era for LINKBANCORP Incorporated as it gets absorbed by Burke and Herbert. So what we have here is a report from LINKBANCORP Incorporated, or L.N.K.B. for short, detailing a significant event, the completion of its merger with Burke and Herbert Financial Services Corporation. This happened on May 1st, 2026, essentially. L.N.K.B. is no more as an independent entity, it has become part of Burke and Herbert. The filing explains that not only did L.N.K.B. merge into Burke and Herbert, but its banking subsidiary LINKBANK also merged into Burke and Herbert Bank and Trust Company. This means the combined entity will operate under the Burke and Herbert name. For L.N.K.B. shareholders, their stock was converted into shares of Burke and Herbert stock. The exchange ratio was 0.135, 0 shares of Burke and Herbert stock for every 1 share of L.N.K.B. stock they held. This is a pretty standard way to handle mergers, turning one company's ownership into another's. Holders of fractional shares received cash instead, which is also typical. The filing also touches on how stock awards were handled. Any unvested restricted stock awards for L.N.K.B. stock became fully vested and received the same merger consideration. Likewise, restricted stock units, or RSUs, were cancelled and converted into the right to receive the merger consideration. Stock options for L.N.K.B. stock were also assumed by Burke and Herbert, with their terms adjusted based on the exchange ratio. For L.N.K.B. warrants, they were also converted into warrants for Burke and Herbert stock, with the exercise price and number of shares adjusted accordingly. Now, a major consequence of this merger is that L.N.K.B. no longer meets the requirements to be listed on the Nasdaq capital market. The company notified Nasdaq about the merger closing and requested that its stock trading be suspended on the 30th of April 2026. Nasdaq then filed Form 25 to officially delist L.N.K.B.'s common stock. This means L.N.K.B.'s stock is no longer trading on Nasdaq. The company also plans to file a Form 15 to deregister its stock and suspend its reporting obligations. This is a common step after a company is acquired. This delisting event is significant. Think about the history of companies like Kodak or Sears, which went through reverse splits and eventually delisted. While this is a merger, not a reverse split, the delisting marks the end of L.N.K.B.'s public trading journey as an independent entity. For example, when Bed Bath & Beyond was heading towards its eventual bankruptcy, delisting from the Nasdaq was a clear sign of its struggles. While this merger is an acquisition, the delisting indicates a foundational change for the L.N.K.B. shareholders. They are now holders of Burke and Herbert stock, and by extension, its future will be tied to that company's performance and listing status. This section simply reiterates that the rights of L.N.K.B. security holders were fundamentally changed by the merger. Their stock was converted as we discussed, meaning their rights as shareholders now pertain to Burke and Herbert. This item confirms the change of control. With L.N.K.B. merging into and being survived by Burke and Herbert, control has clearly shifted to Burke and Herbert. There was also a change in leadership. As part of the deal, Burke and Herbert agreed to appoint 2 members of L.N.K.B.'s board of directors to its own board. These individuals are Diane Poilion and Kristen Snyder, and they are designated as the L.N.K.B. continuing directors. This is often done to ensure continuity and bring in existing knowledge of the acquired business. As L.N.K.B. ceased to exist after the merger, its articles of incorporation and bylaws are no longer in effect. Instead, the existing articles and bylaws of Burke and Herbert as the surviving entity continue to govern the combined company. The filing also lists the exhibits. Notably, it references the merger agreement from the 18th of December 2025, which was filed earlier. This section mostly points to other documents that provide the detailed legal terms of the transactions. Looking at the broader context, LINKBANCORP Incorporated had a market cap of around $326 million and about 296 employees before this merger. Major institutional holders like Alliance, Vanguard, and BlackRock had significant stakes. This merger means these large holders now have a stake in Burke and Herbert. The news headlines highlight this, with reports stating L.N.K.B.'s holders are getting Burke and Herbert stock as its Nasdaq listing ends. This is a complete absorption. This filing really marks the endpoint for L.N.K.B. as an independent, publicly traded company. For its shareholders, the immediate impact is the conversion of their L.N.K.B. shares into Burke and Herbert shares. And the delisting from Nasdaq means they will no longer have direct visibility into L.N.K.B.'s independent financial performance. Their investment is now tied to the trajectory of Burke and Herbert. The risk I'm watching is the integration success of these two entities and how the combined company performs in the current economic landscape. My biggest concern is whether the consolidation leads to unexpected operational challenges for Burke and Herbert. What I am actually looking for is how Burke and Herbert's financials evolve post merger to gauge the true value of this acquisition for L.N.K.B.'s former shareholders. Oh, and the research tools I actually use are linked in the description. They help keep this channel going. That is my take. Stay decoded. If this analysis was valuable, hitting that like button really helps, and subscribe for more deep dives. Don't forget to check out the Discord in the description.